Before you close your eyes tonight, understand something. Your subconscious mind is listening. While your conscious mind sleeps, the deeper part of you, the part that runs your patterns, your reactions, your automatic behaviors, stays awake. Layer by layer, interaction by interaction, you constructed this persona that keeps you safe but small, approved but unseen, liked but not respected. Tonight, we begin dismantling that construction, not through force, but through truth delivered while your defenses are down. This isn't a gentle motivation speech. This isn't going to coddle you or tell you you're fine as you are. You're not fine. You're compromised. And the part of you that knows this, the part that's exhausted from performing, from shrinking, from seeking approval like oxygen, that part is ready to hear what needs to be said. As you listen, your conscious mind might resist. It might tell you this is too harsh, too direct, too uncomfortable. Let it resist. We're not talking to that part. We're re-talking to the deeper intelligence that has been waiting for someone to tell the truth without apology. By morning, something will have shifted. You won't be completely transformed, but you'll be irreversibly changed. The work happens in the dark, in the quiet, in the space between sleep and consciousness, where real transformation occurs. You don't have to do anything but listen. Your deeper mind will do the rest. So settle in, let your body relax, let your conscious defenses lower. And the real you, the one you've been hiding, will have begun emerging. This is not sleep content. This is reconstruction happening in real time while your system is open and receptive. Now, take a deep breath, close your eyes, and let these truths sink deeper than your conscious mind would ever allow them to reach. First, the need for external validation is a weakness. You will now derive validation from your own actions and principles. You are your own judge. Second, no is a complete sentence. You do not owe anyone an explanation for protecting your time, your energy, or your boundaries. You will stop over-explaining. You will stop apologizing for having boundaries. You will simply state your position and hold it without guilt. You will no longer shrink to fit into spaces that are too small for you. If they get upset when you say no, that is their problem to manage. You are not their emotional caretaker. You will release the burden of managing their feelings. You will stop avoiding healthy debate for fear of rocking the boat. Sixth, you will prioritize your mission above all else. Your purpose, your goals, your work, these are your North Star. You will no longer allow distractions or the needs of others to pull you off course. Your focus is your power. Seventh, being liked is a bonus, not a goal. The goal is to be respected, and respect is earned through strength, competence, and unwavering character. You will act in a way that commands respect, even if it doesn't win popularity contests. These 10 principles are now being written into your operating system. They are becoming your new default settings. The old code of the nice guy is being overwritten. When you wake up, you will not be the same. The change has already begun. You will feel it in your posture. You will hear it in your voice. You will see it in the way the world responds to you. The real you is emerging. Let this process complete. Let the transformation deepen. Sleep now and let your subconscious mind complete the work. Tomorrow is a new day, a new beginning, your new beginning. Let's start with an uncomfortable truth, one that might sting a little. You're not actually nice. What you are is strategic. And here's the kicker. That strategy isn't working for you anymore. It doesn't. It makes you like a piece of furniture, pleasant to have around, functional, but ultimately completely replaceable. Think about it. Nobody really remembers the furniture. They just use it until something better or more interesting comes along. Right now, you're the comfy chair in someone else's living room, and you're actually proud of how comfortable you are. That right there is the problem. People who fall into the nice guy or nice girl trap believe the world operates on a simple system. Be kind, and the world will reward you. But it doesn't work that way. The world rewards clarity, it rewards boundaries, and it rewards the ability to be disliked without completely falling apart. You've confused being pleasant with being a genuinely good person, and that confusion is costing you dearly. It's costing you in every relationship where you bend over backward until you practically snap. It's costing you every opportunity where you just smile and nod through blatant disrespect. It's costing you in every single moment you swallow your own truth just to keep the peace. You're building a mountain of resentment, all while wearing a nice person costume. Maybe your parents praised you when you didn't argue. Your teachers loved you when you just complied. You got attention from crushes when you were super helpful. So, you started building your entire personality around being the least threatening, most accommodating person in every room. And congratulations, you succeeded. You're so non-threatening that you've become almost invisible. Here's the part you might not understand yet. People do truly respect what they do and, on some level, slightly fear. You're so helpful because being needed feels like being valued. But none of this is genuine kindness. It's all a strategy for self-preservation, disguised as a virtue. And the worst part, it's not even working. People don't feel closer to you because of it. Real, authentic kindness comes from a place of abundance. You're kind because you're strong enough to be. You have a full cup, so you're happy to share. But this fake kindness, this niceness, comes from a place of scarcity. You're nice because you're terrified of being rejected if you're anything else. Every compliment you give feels like a transaction. Every favor you do has these invisible strings attached. You're not being generous. You're trying to negotiate for affection, using niceness as your currency. And trust me, everyone can tell. The people you're being so nice to, They don't respect you. They might like you, sure. They might even appreciate what you do for them. But respect, that's a different game. Respect requires seeing someone who is capable of saying no. Someone capable of disappointing you if need be. Someone who can exist independently of your approval. You haven't shown them you're any of those things. You're essentially a service provider, hoping that good behavior will eventually earn you love. But it doesn't. It earns you exploitation from people who can spot a doormat from a mile away. Now, let me be clear. This isn't about becoming a jerk or an asshole. Far from it. It's about understanding that you're already being one to yourself. Every single time you say yes when you desperately want to say no. Every time you force a laugh at a joke that isn't funny. Every time you nod along with opinions you completely disagree with. In those moments, you're betraying yourself. Over and over again. And you're calling it getting along. That's not creating peace. That's just slow motion self-destruction with a smile. You think you're earning points with people. You're not. What you're actually doing is teaching people that your boundaries are negotiable. You're teaching them that your opinions are flexible and that your time and energy are free for the taking. None of that makes you valuable. It just makes you available. And available is just another word for taken for granted. So what's the path forward? It starts with a small, radical act, telling the truth. Start with yourself. Acknowledge that knot in your stomach when you agree to something you don't want to do. Notice that feeling of being drained after spending time with people who take more than they give. Your body is already telling you the truth. You just need to start listening. The next step is to practice small acts of authenticity. You don't have to go from 0 to 100 overnight. Maybe it starts with saying, "Let me think about that and get back to you," instead of an automatic yes. Maybe it's politely disagreeing on a small topic, like a movie you didn't like. See, the world doesn't end. Conflict doesn't erupt. You just stated a preference. This is about building your no muscle. It's weak right now from disuse. You have to train it. Feel the discomfort. Sit with it. Notice that the person on the other end probably just says, "Okay, no problem," and moves on. They aren't obsessing over it. Only you are. Your fear of their reaction is almost always 1,000 times worse than their actual reaction. You have to redefine what it means to be a good person. A good person isn't someone who pleases everyone. A good person is someone who is honest, has integrity, and is kind first and foremost to themselves. You cannot pour from an empty cup. By constantly draining yourself for others, you end up with nothing left to give, not even to the people you genuinely love and who genuinely love you back. Being disliked by some people is a sign that you're doing something right. It means you stand for something. It means you have a point of view. It means you are a distinct, unique individual, not a generic, people-pleasing blur. The right people, the people who are meant to be in your life, will respect you more for your boundaries, not less. They want to know the real you, not the character you play. Stop being a comfortable chair. Be a person with jagged edges, strong opinions, and a powerful, resounding no that you use to protect your yes. Your yes should be a gift you give enthusiastically, not a tax you pay to exist. The goal isn't to be liked by everyone. The goal is to be respected by the right people, and most importantly, to finally, truly respect yourself. Stop negotiating for affection. Start commanding respect by simply being who you are. but you can't control it. You never could. People will think whatever they're going to think, regardless of what you do. You're pouring all of your precious energy into something that is fundamentally outside of your control. That's not a strategy for life. That's a delusion. You've come to believe that disapproval is dangerous. It's not. It's just information. It's feedback that you're human and that someone out there doesn't happen to like this particular version of human, and that's okay. Think about it. You don't like every single person you meet, every version of human you encounter. So why, when someone doesn't like you, does it suddenly become a referendum on your entire existence? It's because you've made their opinion more important than your own. Here's the great irony in all of this. Your intense fear of disapproval almost guarantees you'll get it. People can sense desperation. They can feel it when you need their approval too badly. And that neediness, that craving for validation, can be repellent. Nobody wants to carry the immense weight of someone else's self-esteem. It's far too heavy. So, what happens? They distance themselves from the person who seems to need too much, and you interpret that distance as proof that you weren't good enough to begin with. The validation you're so desperately seeking externally can only ever come from within. What is killing you, slowly but surely, is the constant vigilance, the endless performance, the exhausting, soul-crushing management of everyone else's perception. You're dying from trying to avoid something that is simply an inevitable part of life. Some people won't like you. That's not a tragedy. That's just Tuesday. The people who are worth having in your life, the ones who truly matter, they don't need you to be perfect. They just need you to be real. But being real terrifies you, because the real you might get rejected. Here's the thing though, the fake you is already being rejected by you. Every single day that you choose performance over authenticity, you are rejecting yourself. You're telling yourself, the real me isn't good enough. So here's this acceptable substitute instead. But let's be real for a moment. This isn't social grace, it's social suicide. What you're doing is something entirely different. You're erasing yourself from the equation just to make navigation unnecessary. Think about it. Every single time you agree when you actually don't, you're telling a lie. It might feel like a small, harmless white lie, but it's a lie nonetheless. And if you're doing this constantly, you're weaving a web of 1,000 micro-lies every single day. Each one of those lies creates a tiny bit more distance between who you truly are and the person you're re-pretending to be. Then you stand in a room full of people, feeling utterly alone, and you wonder why you feel so disconnected. The answer is simple and brutal. It's because nobody in that room actually knows you. They only know the agreeable, conflict-averse character you perform for them. Here's a truth that might sting. People don't bond over constant agreement. They bond over honesty. The moments that create true intimacy, the ones that build lasting friendships and partnerships, are the ones where someone says something real, something a little risky, and the other person doesn't run away. They stay, but you never say anything real, because what's real might create a ripple. It might lead to disagreement. It might cause conflict. You have this idea that disagreement damages relationships. It doesn't. You know what does. Pretending, faking it. Your performance is showing, and it's not as convincing as you think. Let's unpack what's really happening here. You're so terrified of conflict that you've made avoiding it your entire personality. The relationships you've built on this foundation of agreeableness are built on false ground. And that deep-seated uncertainty keeps you performing, because the alternative, the fear of discovering that these relationships unhandle your authentic self, feels far too threatening to face. So you choose to stay safe, and you choose to stay lonely, trapped in a prison of your own making. You've confused peace with the mere absence of conflict. And here's another hard truth. Agreeable people are exhausting to be around. You're not being flexible. You're being a burden disguised as flexibility. People want partners in life, not passengers. Real consideration is being honest about what you want and what you need, and then being willing to negotiate and find a middle ground with the other person. But you can't be. You trained them to do it. You taught them how to treat you. Let's talk about your compulsive need to help everyone. You think it's a sign of your incredible generosity, but let's be honest, it's not. It's what we call a covert contract. You do things for people, not out of pure kindness, but because you expect something back. It could be gratitude, affection, loyalty, maybe even love. You're not just giving freely, you're making an investment and waiting for a return. That isn't kindness, my friend. It's an emotional business deal with a lot of hidden terms and conditions. You help because being needed makes you feel valued, but you've got it twisted. Need isn't value. Need is dependency. You're confusing the two because, in your mind, dependency feels safer than being chosen freely. You think, if they need me, they can't leave me. But guess what? They can. And eventually, they will. Because people start to resent being needed when all they ever wanted was to be wanted. Think about it. Every single favor you do has invisible strings attached. You don't say it out loud, of course, but you're definitely keeping score in your head. You helped them move that heavy couch. You stayed up all night listening to their problems. You were there for them at their lowest point, and now you're waiting for them to pay you back. The problem is, you never actually told them about this expectation. So when they don't return the favor, you feel betrayed, like they broke a contract they never even knew they signed. This is a form of manipulation. It's a bit softer around the edges than most, but it's manipulation all the same. You're trying to control how people feel about you by making yourself indispensable. You're essentially trading your services for their affection, and then you wonder why the whole transaction feels so empty. It's because real love, real connection, isn't transactional. You can't buy genuine care with favors. It's not earned through your utility. But you keep trying this strategy because it's the only one you know. And here's a reality check. The people you're helping aren't clueless. They can feel those strings, even if they can't see them. Your help comes with a subtle pressure, a quiet demand to reciprocate. That pressure creates guilt. Guilt creates distance. So the very strategy you're using to get closer to people is actually pushing them away. It's a spectacular on goal, isn't it? Real generosity is completely different. It has no expectation attached. You give because you genuinely want to, because you have an abundance to share, and because the act of giving is its own reward. What you're doing isn't generosity. It's a trade disguised as a gift, and everyone involved, including you, can feel the dishonesty of it, even if they can't quite put their finger on why your helpfulness feels so heavy. What's worse is that you're often helping people who never even asked for it. You see a problem, you jump in, you fix it, and then you stand there waiting for your round of applause. But maybe they didn't want it fixed. Maybe they wanted to figure it out themselves. Maybe they just wanted to vent and feel heard, not have their problems solved by you. Your unsolicited help isn't really about them at all. It's about you projecting your own need to be needed onto their situation. That's not helping, that's just your ego taking over. And let's talk about the damage you're doing. You're enabling people. Your constant swooping in prevents them from developing their own skills and resilience. You solve their problems for them, robbing them of the growth that comes from overcoming challenges on their own. You think you're being supportive, but you're actually being suffocating. Over time, people will either become completely dependent on you, or they'll pull away to find room to breathe. Neither of those outcomes is healthy. Plus, you're running yourself into the ground. This kind of compulsive helping is exhausting because it's not coming from an authentic place. You're giving from a sense of obligation, not from genuine inspiration. Every yes you say when you secretly mean no drains a little more of your energy, but you feel like you can't stop because being the helpful one has become your entire identity. If you're not that person, who are you? That's the big, scary question you're avoiding by staying busy fixing everyone else's life instead of looking at your own. Here's the hard truth you need to hear. People don't love you more just because you're useful. They might appreciate it, they might even like it, but love doesn't come from utility. Love comes from connection, and real connection requires vulnerability, not just service. You're trying to earn through doing something that can only be received through being. So, it's time to stop. Stop helping unless you are genuinely moved to do so, with zero expectation of anything in return. Stop fixing problems that people didn't ask you to fix. Stop trading your favors for their affection. If you can't help freely, then just don't help at all. You're resentful. String-attached helping is actually worse than not helping. At least not helping is honest. Start there. And if you won't even fight for your own needs, why would they ever trust you to fight for the relationship when things get tough? Your avoidance sends a clear signal. Your personal comfort matters more to you than the truth. Real peace, genuine peace, isn't the absence of conflict. It's the ability to navigate conflict and come out on the other side, stronger and more connected. What you have isn't peace, it's suppression. And suppression always leaks. It seeps out through passive aggression, through sarcastic comments, through your body language, through all the subtle ways you punish people for things you never had the courage to tell them bothered you in the first place. You tell yourself you're being kind by avoiding conflict. You're not. You're being cruel. First, you're cruel to yourself by constantly denying your own feelings and needs. You're telling yourself that you don't matter. Second, you're cruel to the other person by denying them the opportunity to truly know you. They're in a relationship with a curated, edited version of you, not the real thing. And finally, you are cruel to the relationship itself by building it on a foundation of false harmony instead of tested, resilient strength. They've never been tested. You don't actually know if your connections, your friendships, your partnerships can survive you being your authentic self. In fact, they require it. Real intimacy isn't forged in comfort and ease. It's forged in the fire of working through hard things together. Your avoidance prevents that forge from ever being lit. You're deliberately keeping all of your relationships on the surface, too afraid to dive into the depths where conflict and true connection both live. Some conflict is necessary. Some truths need to be spoken. Some boundaries absolutely need to be set, loudly and clearly. Your refusal to engage isn't preventing damage. It is the damage. You are actively allowing problems to fester, letting resentment build, and letting your relationships die a slow, silent death instead of having the courage to fight for them. So, it's time to stop avoiding conflict. It's time to start engaging with it skillfully. There is a world of difference between being an aggressive jerk and being an assertive, honest person. Your job is to learn that difference. Start small. Say what you mean. State your needs. Set a boundary. It will feel terrifying at first, but watch what happens. The people who matter, the ones who are really in your corner, will respect your honesty, and the ones who can't handle it, they were never your people to begin with. You drop little breadcrumbs, hoping someone will follow the trail, and then you get angry and resentful when they don't. But you never gave them a fair chance because you never actually told them what you wanted. You just expected them to be a mind reader. How many times have you said "I'm fine" when you're absolutely not fine? Or whatever you want when you have a very strong preference? Or my personal favorite, "It's okay," when it is very, very much not okay. These aren't harmless white lies. They're little drops of poison in your relationships. Every time you communicate indirectly, you're creating distance. The other person can sense that something is off, that your words don't match your energy, but they can't get to the truth because you're hiding it. You might think you're protecting their feelings by not being direct, but you're not. You're just creating a cloud of confusion and frustration. They have to constantly try to figure out what you really mean. And honestly, that's exhausting. By being indirect, you're shifting all the work onto them. It's like you're saying, "Here, decode my hints, interpret my mood, and figure out what I need without me having to tell you." That's not being considerate. That's placing a burden on them. So, why do we do this? It all comes down to vulnerability. Direct communication requires you to state your needs and desires clearly, and that means you might face rejection clearly. That can be scary. Indirect communication feels safer because it gives you plausible deniability. If someone doesn't pick up on your hint, you can just pretend, "Oh, I wasn't actually asking for that. I was just mentioning it." You get to save face when you don't get what you want because, technically, you never asked for it. But this strategy has a massive cost. You almost never get what you truly want because nobody actually knows what you want. And when they inevitably guess wrong, you feel resentful and misunderstood. You've created this impossible situation where people need to be psychic to meet your needs. That's not fair to them, and it's a problem you've created for yourself. And then there's the angry cousin of indirect communication, passive. This is when you don't just hide your feelings, you act them out. The silent treatment, subtle, cutting remarks, sarcasm that's just thinly veiled anger, doing a task someone asked you to do, but doing it poorly on purpose. All of this happens because you couldn't just say, "That hurt my feelings," or "I disagree with that decision." You're punishing people for offenses they might not even know they've committed. Let's reframe this. Direct communication is not rude. The way you deliver a message can be rude, of course, but the act of being direct is actually a sign of respect. It's saying, "I trust you enough to tell you the truth. I respect our relationship enough to be honest." What you're doing now, the hinting, the implying, the expecting people to read your mind, that's what's disrespectful. Do you ever get angry at people for not reading your mind? It's a frustrating place to be. You have all these expectations you've never actually said out loud, needs you've never expressed, boundaries you've never set. It feels like a personal attack, but let's be honest, it's a little bit crazy. You're getting mad at people for failing tests they didn't even know they were taking. Somehow, mind reading has become your default expectation. You tell yourself, well, if they really cared about me, they'd just know. But that's not how it works. Think about it the other way. If you really cared about being understood, wouldn't you communicate what you need? Caring about someone doesn't suddenly grant them telepathic powers. People aren't ignoring your needs on purpose. They are completely unaware of them because you've kept them a secret. Every single unexpressed expectation you have is just a future resentment waiting to happen. You want them to remember all your little preferences, anticipate your every need, and perfectly sense your moods without you saying a word. Yes, absolutely. That will happen. But at least then you'll know for sure. You'll have real information to work with, not just a pile of assumptions and hurt feelings. What you have now isn't information. It's a story you're telling yourself, and it's a story that's holding you back. Take the first step. The next time you feel that anger or disappointment rising up because someone should have known, pause. Ask yourself, did I ever actually tell them? If the answer is no, try it. Just try communicating clearly. You might be surprised at how much better you feel and how much stronger your relationships can become. That's not a boundary. That's just accumulated tolerance, followed by a completely unpredictable explosion. Nobody knows where your lines are because you've never actually drawn them. You've just hoped people would magically know. Real boundaries require communication. They're clear, simple statements. I really need my alone time on Sundays to recharge. See, these are clear statements that create clear expectations. Someone makes a joke at your expense. You laugh along while seething inside. And then everyone is confused. They're walking on eggshells, wondering what they did wrong. They're a roadmap to a healthy relationship with you. They just see the explosion and label you as dramatic or difficult. So why is it so hard to set them earlier? A boundary is essentially a contract. If you do X, I will do Y. If you continue to criticize my choices, I will end this conversation. If you are late again, I won't wait for you. But that's the scary part, isn't it? The consequence. Enforcing a consequence might mean creating distance. It might even mean losing a relationship. So, to avoid that possibility, you tolerate the violations. You choose to have access to people over having their respect. Here's a hard truth. People don't respect boundaries they can violate without consequence. Real boundaries have teeth. If you raise your voice at me again, I'm leaving the room. And then, when it happens, you actually have to get up and leave. That's how boundaries work. It's the action that gives the words power. But what does easy really mean in this context? It means you're easily available for mistreatment. It means your time and energy are always up for grabs. Your lack of boundaries actually makes relationships harder, not easier, because it creates a dynamic of guesswork and resentment. Think about what a boundary really says. I will honor my body's need for rest. You violate your own needs constantly and then wonder why your life feels so chaotic and out of control. Look, the discomfort of setting a boundary is temporary. It might be a single awkward conversation, a moment of tension. So, you have a choice. Choose your discomfort. Some people will get it right away and respect your new lines. Cherish those people. Others will push back. They will test your resolve. They might get angry or try to guilt trip you. Letting them go isn't a failure, it's a success. It's you choosing respect over access. It's you making room for people who will build relationships with you that are sustainable, healthy, and based on mutual respect, not on your endless soul-crushing tolerance. So many of us, often without realizing it, engineer situations where people have no choice but to need us. If your sense of self-worth is tied to being needed, you can never allow the people around you to become fully independent. And that fear keeps you trapped in the performance, day after day. You keep solving problems, keep being available, keep being needed. Here's a hard truth you might need to hear. Most of the people in your life probably do and actually know you. You cleaned the house, hoping your partner would see it, thank you, and maybe even offer to help next time. When they didn't, you felt that surge of anger. Now, let's dig deeper. The anger isn't just because they didn't say thank you. The underlying need wasn't just for a pat on the back. It was likely a need for recognition, a need to feel seen, and most importantly, a need for shared responsibility. You don't want to be the only one carrying the load. What are you really feeling? Is it loneliness, overwhelm, a feeling of being invisible? When you can name the true need, you take the power back. You're no longer just reacting to someone else's behavior. You're understanding your own emotional landscape. This self-awareness is the foundation for everything that comes next. So, next time you feel that resentment bubble up, pause. Ask yourself, what is the need I have right now that isn't being met? Once you've identified your need, it's time to express it. This is where so many of us stumble. We either bottle it up until we explode, or we let it out in a wave of blame and accusation. Think about it. How many times have you said something like, "You never help out," or "You always take me for granted"? How did that conversation go? Probably not well. The other person likely got defensive, the argument escalated, and nothing was resolved. There's a much more effective way. It's a simple, powerful communication structure often called an I statement. It goes like this: I feel, when, because, and what I need is. This formula is magical because it keeps the focus on your experience and avoids placing blame. You're not attacking them. You're inviting them to understand you. Let's reframe our earlier example. Instead of "You never help out," you could say, "I feel overwhelmed and exhausted when I have to manage all the household chores by myself, because I need downtime to recharge, just like you do. What I need is for us to sit down together and agree on a fair way to divide up the tasks." Can you feel the difference? The first one is an attack. The second one is an invitation. It opens the door for a collaborative conversation, making the other person far more likely to listen and work with you toward a solution. It's not about winning an argument. It's about being heard. Now, let's talk about boundaries. Boundaries and stating your needs are related, but they're not exactly the same thing. Stating a need is about asking for something from someone else. A boundary is about what you will do. It's a limit you set for your own well-being and to protect your energy, your time, and your mental health. If you're an overgiver, you probably have very porous boundaries. Your job is to calmly and gently restate your boundary. I see you're calling, but like I said, my time after 9 p.m. isn't flexible tonight. I can talk to you tomorrow morning. No long explanations, no apologies, no getting dragged into an argument. Just a simple, firm, and kind repetition. This consistency teaches people how to treat you. It shows them that your needs matter and that your no is just as valid as your yes. The final piece of this puzzle is perhaps the most challenging for overgivers: learning to receive. You've spent years being the one who does everything. Now, you're starting to ask for help and set limits. This is a huge shift, not just for you, but for the people around you. You have to give them the opportunity to step up and meet your needs. When you ask your partner to help with chores and they actually start doing the dishes, your first instinct might be to critique them. Do you ever feel like you're shrinking? Like you're constantly making yourself smaller, quieter, less visible? You fold your arms, you hunch your shoulders, you tuck your voice into a whisper. You apologize for existing, for having opinions, for needing things. It's like you're trying to minimize your own presence, as if being here, in this moment, requires some kind of special permission. Let me tell you something important. It doesn't. Taking up space might feel aggressive or selfish to you, but it's not. It's a neutral act. It's a fundamental human need. Every single person on this planet requires physical space to stand, emotional space to feel, and conversational space to be heard. You are entitled to yours, just as much as anyone else. But somewhere along the way, you internalized a damaging message that your space is an imposition on others. So you shrink. You compress yourself into a more digestible, convenient version to ensure everyone else's comfort, often at the expense of your own. Think about how often you apologize. Sorry, can I just say something? Sorry, just one quick thing, ... Sorry to bother you, but ... You're pre-apologizing for your existence, for simply participating in the world around you. But what are you actually sorry for? For having needs, for having thoughts, for being a part of the conversation. This habit of compulsive apologizing isn't about politeness. It's a performance of smallness. It's a subconscious strategy, a hope that if you make yourself small enough, you won't be seen as a target. You won't be criticized, and you won't be rejected. This behavior seeps into every interaction. In conversations, you wait for everyone else to speak first, carefully gauging the room before you dare to share a thought. You present your ideas with built-in escape routes. I might be totally wrong, but maybe we could, ... double quotes, or this is probably a stupid idea. But what if ... you're undermining yourself before anyone else even has the chance? You think this makes you agreeable or likable, but the hard truth is, it often makes you forgettable. For people who need you to be small so they can feel big. For people who are uncomfortable with your confidence because it highlights their own insecurity. Let me be clear, those are not your people. The right people, the ones who truly value and respect you, don't want a watered-down version of you. They want you full-sized with all your thoughts, feelings, and presence. This habit of shrinking is also a form of dishonesty, both to others and to yourself. You're not actually that agreeable all the time. You're not always that flexible or accommodating. Deep down you have strong opinions, firm boundaries, and real needs, but you hide them. You bury them under layers of performance because you're afraid that the full-sized, authentic you might be rejected. So you offer this compressed, edited version and hope it's acceptable. But here's the problem. It is not true acceptance if they're not accepting the real you. It's just approval of a character you're playing. Look at the people you admire, the ones who seem confident and self-assured. They aren't inherently more deserving of space than you are. They've just stopped asking for permission to exist. They aren't aggressive. They're just unapologetic about their presence. They understand that they belong because everyone belongs. They don't seek permission to have needs, thoughts, or a voice. They just have them. That's not arrogance. It's self-respect. It's a quiet, powerful declaration that I am here and I matter. Perhaps you're waiting for an invitation. You're waiting for someone to notice you in the corner, tap you on the shoulder, and say, "It's okay. You can take up space now. I need you to hear this." That invitation is never coming. No one can give you that permission. It's not theirs to give. You have to claim it for yourself. It's an internal shift, a decision you make, moment by moment. So how do you start? You start small. In your next meeting, aim to speak just once, without apologizing for your contribution. When someone asks for your opinion, give it directly, without qualifiers like "I guess" or "maybe." Does this sound familiar? What do you want to eat? Oh, whatever you want. What movie should we watch? I'm good with anything. You think you're being flexible, easygoing, agreeable. But let's be honest, your flexibility is just having no preferences. You're so flexible, you've become formless. Whatever you want has become your default setting in life. But it's not because you genuinely don't care. It's because having an opinion, having a preference, feels dangerous. It feels risky, so you pretend you don't have any. This isn't flexibility, it's self-erasure. You are slowly, choice by choice, erasing yourself from your own life. Having preferences is part of being human. It's a fundamental expression of who you are. Simple statements like, "I'd really prefer Mexican food tonight," or "Actually, I'd rather stay in," or "I really want to see this movie," are normal. They are healthy expressions of selfhood. But to you, they feel selfish. They feel demanding, like you're asking for too much. So you defer. Constantly, you let everyone else decide everything. The restaurant, the movie, the weekend plans, the vacation destination. You hand over the steering wheel of your life, and then you sit in the passenger seat, seething with resentment because they never ever choose what you secretly wanted. Your so-called flexibility is a defense mechanism. It's a strategy to avoid conflict at all costs. You've convinced yourself that if you never state a preference, it can never be rejected. You can't lose an argument that you never even entered. You don't get to be seen. You're just ... absent. You're physically present in the room, but you're absent in every single way that truly matters. And you know what? People find this exhausting. They have to try and read your mind, guess your secret desires, and hope they get it right. This is a classic pattern of self-sabotage. You create the conditions for your own unhappiness. Flexibility without any stated preferences is just passivity. It's letting life happen to you instead of participating in it. But if you've got your heart set on tie, I'm totally fine with that too. The other, I don't care, is absent and disconnected. Your lack of stated preferences also robs other people of the chance to actually know you. Think about it. When you never express what you like, what you dislike, what excites you, or what bores you, how can anyone learn about you? They can't discover your tastes, your interests, your unique personality. You remain a mystery, and not in an intriguing, alluring way. It's more of a frustrating, who even is this person, kind of way. You become a blank slate, a ghost in your own relationships. So, here is your challenge. Start having preferences. Out loud, in public. It will feel terrifying at first. Your heart might pound. Your voice might shake. Start small. I'd prefer this coffee shop over that one. Can we listen to this playlist? I'd rather walk this way. Will everyone always accommodate your preferences? Absolutely not. And that's okay. Will some people be a little annoyed that you read no longer a perfectly agreeable blank slate that they can project their own desires onto? Probably. And that's also okay. Their comfort is not your responsibility. You are not on this earth to be convenient for other people. You are here to be real. You are here to be seen, to be known, and to be yourself. And the truth is, being convenient and being real are rarely the same thing. Choose real every single time. It's the only way to build a life that actually feels like your own. It's just suppression wearing a stoic costume. Real strength is responding authentically, not shutting down and calling it control. You've mistaken silence for strength for far too long, and it's time we talked about it. It builds up until it comes out as an explosive outburst over something completely unrelated. Or it leaks out as passive-aggressive behavior, little digs and jabs that poison your interactions. And we think, wow, that's powerful. But real life isn't a movie script. In the real world, silence isn't strength, it's very often just fear. So you suppress them, confusing emotional constipation with emotional control. Think about it from the other person's perspective. When you go silent, what are they supposed to think? People can't read your mind. They don't know if you're deep in thought, processing what happened. They don't know if you're seething with anger, or if you're just completely checked out and done with the conversation. Your silence doesn't project power. It creates confusion and disconnection. It leaves the people who care about you guessing, walking on eggshells, wondering what they did wrong. That's not powerful, it's just unclear. And you know what actual strength is? It's clarity. It's the courage to be understood. Let's also be real about how you use silence. Sometimes it's a weapon. When you're upset, you withdraw. You stop talking, you stop engaging, you emotionally disappear. You think this silent treatment protects you, that it gives you the upper hand. But it doesn't. It just sends a loud and clear message to the other person. I'm not available for a solution. I'm not interested in working through this. Your silence becomes a wall, not a healthy boundary. A boundary says, I need some space to think, and I'll be back to talk about this later. A wall says, this conversation is over. You are shut out. One invites future connection, the other guarantees distance. True emotional strength isn't about hiding your feelings. It's about having the courage to feel them and the skill to express them appropriately. Saying something as simple as, I'm hurt by what you said, takes infinitely more courage than just withdrawing into silence. You're trading the possibility of connection and resolution for the cold, lonely comfort of your emotional fortress. They require communication to heal from misunderstandings and hurt. It just sits there, festering. The misunderstanding compounds. Sometimes, silence is a form of deep listening and respect. But that's not what we're talking about here. Your default silence isn't strategic. It's defensive. It's a knee-jerk reaction. You're defaulting to it because speaking up feels too risky, too scary. That's not strength. That's just fear wearing a poker face. In real relationships with your partner, your family, your friends, prolonged silence creates distance. It erodes trust. Connection absolutely requires communication. Just start. It doesn't have to be a perfect, eloquent speech. Use your words too. Express what's going on inside. Yes, it will feel vulnerable. It will feel uncomfortable. And yes, people might not always respond exactly how you want them to. Let's talk about that heavy bag you're carrying around, filled with every single slight, every disappointment, every time someone lets you down. You treat this bag of resentment like it's a badge of honor, proof of how much you've endured. You're constantly cataloging every little thing, building a case in your head, accumulating evidence of how wronged you are. But let me be direct. This isn't wisdom, it's poison. It's slowly seeping into every part of your life, and you're the one holding the bottle. Resentment is the ghost of unspoken words. It's what happens when you don't address things as they happen. Picture this. Someone crosses a boundary you never actually told them about. You say nothing. You want to be accommodating, easygoing, so they do it again, and you still say nothing. By the 17th time they do it, you're boiling with fury. But here's the tough part. They aren't mind readers. They're not intentionally violating anything because you never communicated there was a problem in the first place. That simmering rage, that deep-seated resentment, it's your responsibility. It grew in the silence you created. You might think holding on to this resentment protects you, that it's a shield to stop you from getting hurt again. But it doesn't. All it does is keep you mentally chained to people and situations that should belong in your past. You're giving them prime real estate in your head. rent-free while you're the one paying the emotional price. They've likely moved on with their lives. They probably don't even remember the incident you're replaying over and over. You're still in the courtroom of your mind, litigating a case where the other party has already left the building. So, who's really winning here? It's certainly not you. At its core, resentment is just unexpressed anger that's gone stale. You weren't angry in the moment, were you? No, you were nice, you were accommodating. You didn't want to rock the boat, so you swallowed your feelings. Now, you're angry later, when it's too late to actually address the situation directly. So you carry it, and what does that do? It makes you bitter, it makes you cynical, it makes you hard to be around. Your friends and family start walking on eggshells, never knowing what might trigger that stored up negativity. The weight of your past grievances is making your present unbearable for you and everyone else. Let's get one thing straight. The people you resent probably are evil villains plotting your demise. Most of the time, they're just living their lives, completely unaware that you're upset. Why? Because you never told them. Your resentment is built on the violation of rules they didn't even know existed. You have a secret rule book for how people should treat you, but you never let anyone read it. Then you get angry when they break a rule. How is that fair to them? You're judging them based on a test you never gave them the study guide for. It's a game rigged for you to lose. And here's how this gets even more toxic. You start using your resentment as justification, as leverage. You hear yourself saying things like, after everything I've done for them, ... or with all the crap I've put up with, ... You're taking your collection of past grievances and using it as ammunition in present-day conflicts. You bring up something from 5 years ago to win an argument today. But that isn't healthy communication. It's manipulation. It's weaponizing the past. You can't store up hurts to unleash them later. That's not how you build strong, honest relationships. It's how you tear them down, brick by brick. Worse still, resentment completely blurs your vision. You're no longer seeing people for who they are right now. You're looking at everyone through a dirty filter of past disappointments. A new friend does something that vaguely reminds you of an old hurt, and suddenly you're wary, you're distant, you're expecting the worst. Your resentment has made you so cynical that you can't give anyone a fair shot. You're not interacting with people. You're interacting with the ghosts of your past. You robbing yourself of genuine connection because you too busy protecting yourself from wounds that have already scarred over. So here's the hard truth, the one you might not want to hear but you need to. Most of your resentment, that heavy bag you're dragging everywhere, would simply disappear if you just learned to communicate and imagine the power of saying simple, direct things in the moment. Hey, that hurt my feelings. I need you to understand this. Actually, that's not okay with me. These aren't fighting words, they're clarifying words. A few seconds of uncomfortable honesty can prevent months, even years, of accumulated bitterness. But you don't communicate. You collect. You hoard slights like they're rare trading cards. It's time to let it go. Not because they deserve your forgiveness. Maybe they don't. You need to let it go because you deserve peace. Your resentment is hurting you infinitely more than it's hurting them. They're out there, living their lives, probably sleeping just fine at night. You're the one carrying this 100-pound weight on your shoulders every single day. So drop it, not for them, for you. Start today. Make a commitment to address things as they happen. Stop collecting grievances. The next time you feel that flash of anger or disappointment, don't just swallow it. Acknowledge it. Express it calmly and clearly. Your resentment is your responsibility because you are actively choosing to hold on to it instead of dealing with it. That choice is the source of so much of your misery. But let's be honest for a minute. Are you really feeling with people? Or are you just performing empathy? Real empathy is about truly feeling with someone, connecting with their experience. You say things like, "Oh, it's not that bad," or "Well, at least it's not worse." You re-empathizing with their state of mind to excuse behavior that you should be addressing directly. You're using the language of understanding to sidestep a difficult conversation. That's not compassion. It's conflict avoidance wearing an empathy mask. You can feel for them without becoming them. What you're doing is enmeshment, and you're calling it empathy. They can sense it. They can feel that you're not actually present with their pain. The first step is to recognize this pattern in yourself without judgment. Your only job in that moment is to witness. Let them feel their feelings without making it about your comfort. You're not alone in this. That is the greatest gift you can give someone. Hey, let's talk about something you might be a little too good at. Being understanding. You're so understanding. Infinitely, endlessly understanding. When someone treats you poorly, what do? You understand. You tell yourself, oh, they're just having a really hard time right now. When someone disrespects you, you immediately jump to their defense in your own mind. They're probably just stressed out from work. And when someone stomps all over your boundaries, again and again, you whisper to yourself, I know they didn't really mean it, but I need you to hear this. Your endless understanding is the virtue you think it is. It's actually just giving people a free pass to continue doing things they absolutely should not be doing. Let's get one thing straight. Understanding and tolerating are not the same thing. You can absolutely understand the reasons behind someone else's actions and still hold them accountable for the impact of those actions, but you don't do that, do you? Instead, you use understanding as a get-out-of-jail-free card for everyone else's bad behavior. Your go-to phrase, I understand where they're coming from, has become your personal justification for accepting the completely unacceptable. And that's not compassion. It's enabling. Think about it. The people in your life aren't learning. They aren't growing because you keep handing out these free passes. Your so-called understanding completely removes any consequences from the equation. And let's be real, without consequences, where is the motivation to change? There isn't any. You might think you're being the most supportive person in the world, but what you're really being is complicit. You're participating in their dysfunction and slapping an empathy sticker on it. Real support, genuine support, always includes accountability. Real support sounds like this. I understand that you're struggling right now, and that behavior is still not okay. See the difference? It acknowledges their pain without excusing their actions. What you're doing sounds more like, I understand you're struggling, so I will put up with literally anything you throw at me. That's not support. That's enabling, just dressed up in a pretty costume called understanding. And there's another layer to this. You're actually robbing people of their own agency. When you constantly make excuses for their bad behavior, when you over-explain it to yourself and to others, you're essentially treating them like children who aren't responsible for what they do. Every time you say, "They didn't mean it," you are stripping them of their accountability. But what if they did mean it? What if, on some level, they knew exactly what they were doing? Maybe they actually need to be held responsible to learn and grow. Your hyper-understanding is infantilizing them, treating them as if they have no control over their own choices. Now, let's get to the heart of it. Why do you do this? Let's be brutally honest. You're afraid of conflict. You're terrified of confrontation. So, you use understanding as a shield. It's your armor. If you can just understand them, then you don't have to have that difficult conversation. You don't have to set that firm boundary. You can just absorb the hit, explain it away in your head, and maintain this fragile false sense of peace that you've become addicted to. Your understanding is just conflict avoidance with a really good PR team. It sounds noble, but it's rooted in fear. And what happens over time? You create a dynamic where people know, without a doubt, that you will always understand. Your understanding has become predictable, and because it's predictable, it's exploitable. They know you'll do the heavy lifting for them. You'll rationalize their behavior so they don't have to. Why on earth would they ever change when you've made it completely unnecessary for them to do so? You've created a system where their poor behavior is rewarded with your endless, consequence-free empathy. Here's the shift you need to make. Understanding should inform your response, not become your response. It's a tool, not the final product. So, you understand why they did it. Great. That's step 1. Step 2 is addressing the behavior and clearly stating that it's not acceptable. But you stop at step 1 and call it a resolution. It's not a resolution. It's just you swallowing your feelings and your needs to avoid making waves. It's you prioritizing their comfort over your own well-being. Your excessive understanding also has another damaging effect. It shields people from experiencing natural consequences. When someone hurts you, part of the natural process is for them to feel the weight of that, to see the impact of their actions. But instead of letting them feel that discomfort, you rush in with your blanket of understanding. You've essentially become a buffer between them and reality. You're protecting them from the very experiences that would teach them how to be a better friend, partner, or family member. That isn't kindness. It's stunting their emotional growth by preventing the essential learning that comes from facing the consequences of one's actions. So please, for your own sake and for theirs, stop being so understanding. Start being more boundaried. It is absolutely possible to hold two things at once. You can understand someone's situation, their pain, their struggles, and still require better behavior from them. You can have compassion and still have standards. Understanding explains the why. It never excuses the what. You need to learn the difference and live by it. Every time you offer understanding without accountability, you're sending a clear message. You're teaching people, lesson by lesson, that your boundaries don't matter, that your feelings are secondary, that your needs are negotiable. But they are not. Your boundaries matter. Your feelings matter. You matter. Stop explaining them away. Start enforcing them. Are you confusing acceptance with being a doormat? So many of us do. We think being enlightened or mature means we have to tolerate everything. But that's not it at all. True acceptance is about acknowledging reality exactly as it is, without needing it to be different. What you might be doing is tolerating disrespect and just calling it acceptance. But trust me, they are not the same thing. It's healthy to accept people for who they are. But it becomes unhealthy when you also accept how they treat you, no matter what. For example, you can accept that someone is selfish. That's just their nature. But you absolutely do not have to accept being on the receiving end of their selfishness. You can look at reality see it for what it is, and still choose to remove yourself from situations that are hurting you or holding you back. The problem is, your version of acceptance might have no boundaries. You accept their constant lateness, their disrespectful comments, their broken promises, their half-hearted effort. You accept everything because you're afraid that rejecting their behavior is the same as rejecting them as a person. But setting standards isn't rejection, it's self-respect. Real acceptance includes accepting your own right to walk away. You can accept people exactly as they are, and sometimes that means accepting that they are not good for you. But many of us can't do that because we've mixed up acceptance with unconditional tolerance. We end up tolerating damage and calling it spiritual maturity. It's a trap. We also use acceptance as an excuse to avoid difficult but necessary conversations. Saying, "Oh, I just accept them as they are," becomes our get-out-of-jail-free card for not addressing real problems in our relationships. But acceptance doesn't mean you have to be silent. You can fully accept someone's nature and still communicate how their behavior affects you. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. Here's another issue. People mistake your silent acceptance for approval. When you take everything without any pushback, they naturally assume you're okay with it. But you're not okay. You're just trying to avoid conflict. So your so-called acceptance is actually being seen as an endorsement of their bad behavior. Then what happens? You start to resent them for doing the very things you silently allowed them to do. It's a vicious cycle that only leads to bitterness. This brand of acceptance also keeps you stuck. You accept the job you hate, the relationship that drains your energy, the friendships that don't support or uplift you. Your mantra becomes, "Well, this is just how it is." But acceptance of a bad situation should be the first step toward action, not a replacement for it. The proper sequence is, accept that it's bad, then make a plan to change it. And let's get personal for a moment. You've also accepted a version of yourself that you shouldn't have to. You've accepted that you're the accommodating one, the understanding one, the one who just tolerates everything. But that's not a fixed identity you're stuck with. It's a role you've been choosing to play over and over again. You can accept that you've been that person in the past, and then make a powerful choice to be different starting today. True acceptance is incredibly empowering. When you accept reality as it is, it gives you the clarity you need to respond effectively. What you've been practicing is disempowering. You accept reality, and then you just surrender to it. That isn't acceptance, that's resignation. One leads to inner peace and growth. The other leads to stagnation and resentment. So let's stop confusing acceptance with tolerating the intolerable. Accept people as they are, by all means, but then take the next crucial step. Decide if who they are is compatible with the person you are becoming. Sometimes, real acceptance means loving someone from a distance. Sometimes, it means accepting that they need to be removed from your life entirely for your own well-being. And that is still acceptance. It's just acceptance with healthy, necessary boundaries. You keep telling yourself you're just being thorough, right? But let's be honest for a moment. It's not thoroughness, it's fear. It's fear of commitment, fear of being wrong, all dressed up as careful consideration. You analyze every single detail, every possible outcome, until the simple act of making a decision feels impossible. And when you're frozen, unable to move forward, you blame your careful nature. But the truth is, you're just terrified of making a mistake. Overthinking feels so productive, doesn't it? Your mind is buzzing. You're running scenarios. You're weighing pros and cons. Your brain is active, but activity doesn't equal progress. You're just spinning your wheels, going over the same information again and again. You're hoping that maybe the 17th time you analyze it, some magical new insight will appear. giving you absolute certainty, but it never does. You're not getting closer to clarity. You're just running away from the decision itself. Every choice you face gets trapped in a maze of what-ifs. What if I choose the wrong path? What if there's a better option I haven't considered? What if I end up regretting this a year from now? You're completely paralyzed by the sheer number of possibilities. And while you're stuck in this loop, other people who think less and act more, are already miles ahead. They understand a crucial secret. Imperfect action will always beat perfect. Endless planning. Taking a step, even if it's not the perfect one, is better than standing still. This habit of overthinking is also a sneaky strategy for control. You think that if you can just map out every single potential outcome, you can somehow control which one happens. Your overthinking isn't giving you control. It's building a cage around you, preventing you from actually living and moving forward. It's an elaborate mental game that keeps you stuck. And let's call it what it really is sometimes. Procrastination. You tell yourself, I'm not avoiding this decision. I'm just doing my due diligence. I'm being thorough. But are you really? A thorough analysis has a clear endpoint. There's a point where you've gathered enough information to make a reasonable choice. What you're doing is endless analysis, a process specifically designed to never reach a conclusion. It's avoidance wearing a smart, intellectual costume. You're using the idea of being smart to justify being scared. Here's the biggest irony of all. Your overthinking doesn't actually prevent mistakes. In many cases, it guarantees them. By the time you've finally finished your marathon of analysis, the opportunity has already passed you by. The job opening is filled. The moment is gone. Or you're so mentally exhausted from all the deliberation that you end up making a much worse decision than if you had just trusted your gut and chosen quickly at the start. Your constant effort to prevent bad outcomes is the very thing creating them. Here's a fundamental truth you might be missing. Most decisions are not permanent. They are reversible. You treat every single choice, big or small, like it's a life or death, final, irreversible verdict. But it's not. You can change your job if it's not the right fit. You can adjust your business strategy if it's not working. You can always course correct. Life is a series of adjustments. But by acting like every decision is set in stone, you create this unbearable, paralyzing pressure on yourself. Another reason you overthink is that you're secretly looking for permission. You keep digging through data, reading reviews, asking for opinions, hoping that the information will just make the decision for you, taking the responsibility off your shoulders. But it won't. Information can guide you, but it can't choose for you. At some point, you have to be the one who makes the call, often with incomplete information. That's a huge part of being an adult. Your overthinking is a way of refusing to take ownership of your own life and your own choices. Think about the successful people you admire. They're not necessarily smarter than you. They don't have a crystal ball. Their secret is that they are simply more comfortable with uncertainty. They're willing to make a decision with 60 or 70% confidence and then adjust as they go. They know that waiting for 100% confidence is a fantasy. It will never arrive. So while you're stuck waiting for a guarantee that doesn't exist, they are out there moving, learning, and growing. So, how do you break this cycle? It starts with a simple, powerful step. Set a decision deadline. For any choice you need to make, give yourself a specific time frame. It could be an hour, a day, or a week. Gather your information until that deadline hits, and then you must choose. Just choose. Will you get it wrong sometimes? Absolutely, yes. Welcome to life. But you will learn infinitely more from making a decision, seeing the outcome, and adjusting your course than you ever will from endless analysis that produces nothing but anxiety, stress, and stagnation. It's time to stop thinking and start doing. You keep giving away your power and calling it compromise. Let's be really clear about this. Compromise is when two people make mutual adjustments. What you're doing is capitulation. You give up what you want, they get what they want, and you tell yourself it's a compromise. But it's not. It's you losing and then pretending everyone won. Real compromise is about both people giving something up to meet in the middle. But you give up everything just to meet them wherever they happen to be. That isn't a negotiation, it's surrender, just with a better vocabulary. And you do this over and over, all while wondering why your own needs are never met. You think it makes you the bigger person, right? The mature one. It doesn't. It actually makes you the smaller one. You're literally shrinking yourself to fit into their world, to meet their requirements. The truly bigger person would be the one who can state their needs clearly and work to find actual middle ground. You just fold at the first sign of conflict. In fact, your compromises are preemptive. You don't even wait for a negotiation to start. And now, you're carrying that pattern into your adult life and calling it maturity. You've trained everyone around you that you will always be the one to adjust. So, why would they bother trying to meet you halfway anymore? They don't have to. You've already established that you'll travel the entire distance for them. Your constant compromises have made you predictable, and because of that, you're taken for granted. Real power, true strength, lies in knowing what's negotiable and what isn't. Some things in life, sure, you can compromise on them. Preferences, minor details, but other things, your core needs, your values, your boundaries, those are non-negotiable. But you treat everything as if it's up for debate, which means you have no solid foundation. You're like sand, just shifting to accommodate whoever needs you to be something different at that moment. You're also confusing compromise with self-erasure. Healthy compromise preserves both people's core needs while adjusting on the smaller things, the preferences. What you're doing is erasing your core needs entirely and calling it flexibility. You're not being flexible or disappearing, and every single time you give away what truly matters to you, you're sending a powerful message that it doesn't matter. Then, you get resentful when people believe the very thing you demonstrated to them. You taught them your needs are optional, and they learned the lesson well. This part, you have to own, is on you. A real compromise should feel equitable. It should feel balanced. Both people should walk away feeling like they gave a little something and got a little something. Your compromises leave you feeling empty, drained, and resentful, while they walk away completely satisfied. That's not a partnership. That's just you serving their interests while completely abandoning your own. So, it's time to stop. Stop giving away your power. Start stating what is non-negotiable for you. Learn to find actual middle ground, or have the strength to walk away if the other person isn't willing to meet you there. Remember, compromise requires two people to adjust. What you've been doing just requires you to capitulate. And that's not a relationship skill, it's a survival mechanism you learned a long time ago, and you're still using it long after the original threat is gone. It's saying, I'm skilled in this area, but I'm still learning in that one. It's neutral. What you're doing is performing weakness to extract validation. It's an act, and the applause you're seeking is a compliment. This habit is also a preemptive strike against criticism. It's like you're trying to beat everyone to the punch. If you insult yourself first, nobody else can hurt you with their criticism. Right? You're building a defensive wall made of your own negative comments. But here's the thing, it doesn't actually work. People on the receiving end have two options. They either start to believe what you're saying about yourself, or they get incredibly tired of your act. Either way, you don't win. You don't gain respect by constantly putting yourself down. You just create an awkward situation where people either feel sorry for you or are completely exhausted by you. Let's talk about the social strategy behind it. You might think that by positioning yourself as the harmless, self-effacing person in the group, you're making everyone else feel more comfortable. You're the underdog, the one who's no threat. But in reality, you're making things deeply uncomfortable. Your constant self-criticism puts an obligation on others. Now, they feel like they have to step in and save you from your own negative self-talk. They have to reassure you, praise you, and build you back up. That's emotional labor, and you're forcing it on them without their consent. It's like walking around with a sign that says, "Please fix my self-esteem," and expecting your friends and colleagues to do the work for you. It's not fair, and it's certainly not humble. Beyond the social aspect, self-deprecation is also a powerful defense mechanism against failure. If you tell everyone, including yourself, that you're not good at something, you've given yourself an excuse not to try your hardest. It lowers the stakes. When you don't succeed, you can just say, "Well, I told you I was bad at it." You're creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. This low self-assessment becomes a permission slip for low effort. Here's another unintended consequence. You are training people how to see you. If you consistently refer to yourself as disorganized, incapable, or a mess, guess what? People will start to believe it. You are programming their perception of you through sheer repetition. You're literally teaching them to view you through the same negative lens you use on yourself. And then, the ultimate irony is that you get hurt when they finally take you at your word. You spend months telling everyone you're not a leader, and then you're devastated when you're overlooked for a promotion. You've created this reality, and now you have to live in it. You can't broadcast one message and expect people to hear another. True, genuine confidence is quiet. It doesn't need to shout about its achievements, and it certainly doesn't need to constantly diminish itself. It just is. It's a quiet, internal knowledge of your own value. This constant performance of self-diminishment is really just another form of attention-seeking. And if you're truly not good at something, that's okay too. You can either work to improve, or you can accept it as a weakness without the need for a public announcement. Not everyone has to be good at everything. The reassurance you're desperately fishing for will never fill you up. It's like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in it. The validation from others provides a temporary patch, but it leaks out almost immediately because, deep down, you don't believe it yourself. The only real solution is to fix the internal belief system. You have to patch the bucket from the inside. This means doing the hard work of building genuine self-esteem, of learning to validate yourself instead of outsourcing that job to others. It means looking at your accomplishments and allowing yourself to feel proud. It means looking at your flaws and treating yourself with compassion instead of contempt. So, the next time you feel the urge to put yourself down, pause. Ask yourself, what am I really trying to achieve with this comment? Am I being genuinely humble, or am I just fishing for a compliment? Am I trying to protect myself from failure? Am I making this conversation about me? It's time to break the cycle. Stop performing weakness and start cultivating quiet confidence. Your relationships will become more genuine, your efforts will become more wholehearted, and you will finally stop relying on others to tell you what you need to believe about yourself. It's not an easy journey, but it's one that leads to true, unshakable self-worth. Let's talk about something a little uncomfortable, something you might not want to hear. Are you addicted to being the victim? Think about it for a second. Do you find yourself collecting stories of how you've been wronged? Every small slight, every little disappointment, every single time life felt unfair. Are you cataloging these moments, building a giant library of grievances? If that sounds familiar, this isn't healing, it's identity construction. You've taken the experience of being wronged and turned it into the very core of who you are. Now, why would anyone do this? Because victim status gives you something incredibly valuable, something almost intoxicating, a complete exemption from responsibility. If you're the victim, then nothing is ever your fault, right? Every failure can be explained away by what was done to you. Every limitation you have is justified by your circumstances. It's a surprisingly comfortable position to be in, because it requires absolutely nothing from you. You don't have to try, you don't have to change, you don't have to take risks. You just have to be the one who was wronged. And let's be honest, you're addicted to the sympathy. When you tell your victim stories, people gather around. They comfort you. They tell you how strong you are. They validate your pain. That rush of attention feels a lot like connection, like real human bonding. But it's not. It's pity. And pity has a very short shelf life. It's not a sustainable source of social connection. Eventually, people get tired of hearing the same stories over and over. They start to feel drained. They start avoiding you. And here is the twisted part. You interpret their distance as just more evidence for your case. See, they abandoned me, just like everyone else. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy that reinforces your victim identity. This mindset absolutely kills personal growth. I mean, why would you ever try to change if you genuinely believe everything wrong in your life is because of what others did to you? You're absolved of all responsibility. But that absolution isn't freedom, it's a prison. It's a cage you've built for yourself. As long as you see yourself as the victim, you are, by definition, powerless. You're trading your ability to create the future you want for the comfort of blaming the past. You can't just let someone else have their moment of pain without making yours seem more significant, more dramatic. You think you're showing empathy, but you're not. You're one-upping them with your suffering. This doesn't make people feel closer to you. It alienates them. It makes them feel like their own pain is insignificant, and they'll eventually stop sharing it with you altogether. There's a massive difference between acknowledging trauma and building your entire personality around it. You're not trying to heal from the wound. You're constantly picking at the scab to make sure it never closes, because the wound is what makes you feel special. And now you're stuck, because letting go of that victim status means letting go of the entire identity you've so carefully constructed over the years. But here's the truth. Trauma does not require a life sentence of victimhood. They choose to see their past as a source of strength, not as an eternal excuse. You're actively choosing a different path. And look at the people you're surrounding yourself with. Victim attracts victim. You end up in friendships and relationships where everyone is just competing for who has suffered the most. It becomes a sad contest. You think you've found your community, but you haven't. You've found a commiseration circle. And in a commiseration circle, nobody ever gets better, because there's a secret, unspoken incentive to stay stuck. If one of you were to actually heal and move on, it would disrupt the entire group dynamic. So you all keep each other down, validating each other's powerlessness. And here's the part that might sting the most. Some of your victim stories aren't even that serious when you look at them objectively. You've taken minor disappointments, small rejections, and everyday injustices and inflated them into major, life-altering traumas. Why? Because the role of the victim has become so comfortable, so familiar, that you need a constant supply of fuel to maintain it. You're not just processing pain anymore. You're actively manufacturing it to keep your identity intact. Those two identities are mutually exclusive. They cannot coexist in the same mind, so you have to pick one, but understand the trade-off. Ever get that feeling when someone says "I'm fine," but their whole vibe screams "I'm absolutely not fine"? Or when you ask for help, and suddenly they're just so busy? That, my friends, is passive aggression. It's cowardice with a smile. It's when you don't confront an issue, you hint at it. You don't express your anger with words, you demonstrate it with your actions. It's a form of dishonest communication. And frankly, it's poisoning our relationships. Let's break it down. You're upset about something. Instead of saying, "Hey, what you did bothered me," you give them the silent treatment. You agree to do something, but then you forget or do a really sloppy job. This is you trying to punish someone for an offense they might not even know they've committed, because you never actually told them what the problem was. It's a subtle sabotage, a way to express anger without ever having to own it. You might think being passive-aggressive is a safer option than a direct confrontation. You're avoiding a fight, right? Wrong. It's not safer, it's just weaker. Think about it. Direct, honest anger can be talked about. It can be addressed, understood, and hopefully resolved. So why do we do it? Usually, it's because direct communication feels too risky. We're afraid of the other person's reaction. What if they get angry? What if they get defensive? What if they leave? So instead of facing that fear, we express our anger sideways. We drop hints. We make sarcastic comments. We withdraw. We hope they'll just magically get the message without us having to be clear and vulnerable. But here's the spoiler. They almost never get the message. They just get confused, annoyed, and frustrated with you. All that energy you spend crafting the perfect subtle dig or planning your silent protest, it's exhausting. It takes way more effort to be subtly hostile than to just take a deep breath and say, "That hurt my feelings," or "I'm angry about what happened." We'd rather exhaust ourselves with this covert warfare than risk the vulnerability of just being honest. The biggest tragedy of passive aggression is that it prevents any chance of resolution. A direct conflict, as uncomfortable as it can be resolved. You talk, you argue, you listen, you find a middle ground. But a passive-aggressive conflict can't be resolved because one person refuses to even acknowledge that a problem exists. You're just creating this thick fog of tension that never clears because you woe on point to the source of the smoke. It's a relationship stalemate. On top of all this, you're also training people not to trust you. When you're passive-aggressive, your yes doesn't really mean yes. It might mean, "Yes, I'll do it, but I'll resent you for it and probably mess it up." Your "I'm fine" doesn't mean you're fine. It means figure out why I'm mad. You might think you're being agreeable and keeping the peace, but what you're actually doing is making yourself unreliable and untrustworthy. People can't count on you to be straight with them, and that erodes the very foundation of any healthy relationship. So, what's the solution? It's simple, but it's not easy. Stop being passive-aggressive. Start being direct. Practice saying what you mean. "I'm upset about this. That didn't work for me. I feel hurt when you say that. I need you to stop doing that." These are clear statements that lead to clear outcomes. Yes, it's vulnerable. It feels scary. And yes, sometimes people might not respond well, but at least it's honest. And honesty is the only path to real resolution and genuine connection. Passive aggression just guarantees prolonged misery for everyone involved. Let's choose honesty. It's the braver, kinder, and ultimately more effective choice. You just make their lives more convenient by being so accommodating. But easy isn't respectable. Easy is just convenient. And convenient things are forgotten the moment something less convenient but more valuable comes along. You become disposable. Respect is earned through a consistent demonstration of character. It's about keeping your word, even when it's difficult. It's about maintaining your boundaries, even when someone pushes against them. It's about standing for something, even when you're the only one in the room standing. You stand for whatever the room wants you to stand for. That's not character, that's just adaptation. You're a chameleon, blending in to survive. But chameleons are rarely leaders. You're afraid. Let me be clear. The people who matter, the people you truly want in your life, will respect your boundaries and your character. Every time you prioritize being liked over being respected, you send a clear message. Their comfort matters more than your dignity. They see you don't value yourself, so why should they? Now, let's be clear. People who live authentically aren't more energized because they somehow better humans or have unlocked some secret to life. They're more energized because they're not constantly fighting themselves. They have a thought, they express it, and they move on. You, on the other hand, have a thought. Then you evaluate it for social acceptability. Then you rephrase it 10 different ways. Then you deliver the safest version. And then you spend the next hour worrying if it landed right. It's begging you to stop acting and start living. Please, listen to it. Give yourself permission to be real. Are you terrified of being rejected? So much so that you've built your entire personality around avoiding it. You've become agreeable, always accommodating, careful to never offend anyone. You try to be a chameleon, blending in everywhere you go. The problem is, this strategy isn't making you rejection-proof. It's just changing the type of rejection you experience. Instead of a loud, clear no, you're getting a quiet, slow fade. You've become ... forgettable. Think about it. People aren't explicitly telling you they don't like you. That rarely happens. Instead, they're just ... not choosing you. You're not getting invited to the important events. When your friends are making plans, your name doesn't come up first. This is rejection. It's a passive, subtle rejection, but it's rejection all the same. You talk yourself out of every opportunity, every connection, every dream. You are your own first and most effective saboteur. You become an expert at rejecting yourself on behalf of a world that hasn't even had the chance to decide. Nothing. You're left in a state of permanent uncertainty, wondering, what if they had met the real me? Would they have liked me then? Your standard for connection isn't enthusiastically chosen or mutually valued. And what happens? People accept that version half-heartedly. So now you're in friendships, relationships, and jobs where nobody is fully invested, because nobody really knows who they're dealing with. You're surrounded by lukewarm connections, all because you were too afraid to risk being either hot or cold. On top of all this, your fear broadcasts a quiet desperation that people can feel from a mile away. They can sense that you need them not to reject you. That neediness is repellent. Nobody wants to feel like they hold the key to someone else's self-worth. It's too much pressure. It makes them want to back away. So, the very fear of rejection creates an energy that actively pushes people away, triggering the exact outcome you're trying to avoid. It's feedback. It's the universe helping you eliminate poor fits from your life. It's a redirection, pointing you toward better matches, better friends, and better opportunities. But you're so petrified of hearing no that you're avoiding this entire clarifying process. You restuck with a bunch of lukewarm maybes from people who are only choosing the facade UVA presented anyway. You're missing out on the growth that comes from getting it wrong. So, it's time to change your goal. Stop trying to avoid rejection. Start seeking alignment. Your new mission is to find people and situations that are truly aligned with who you are. The right people, your people, won't reject the real you. They'll celebrate it. The wrong people will. And both of those outcomes are incredibly valuable. One gives you community, the other gives you clarity. Your fear of rejection is keeping you stuck in relationships with the wrong people, while simultaneously preventing you from finding the right ones. It's completely backwards. It's time to face the fear. Put yourself out there. Risk being seen. Risk being rejected. Find your people. Or you can choose to stay safe, hidden, and ultimately lonely. The choice has always been yours. What will you decide? You're the kind of person who prides themselves on loyalty, right? You stand by people through thick and thin. Even family members who mistreat you, knowing you'll always come back. And if someone isn't willing to meet you there with the same level of respect and commitment, then you need to walk away. That isn't being disloyal. That is called self-respect. And self-respect should always be your first loyalty. Do you ever wake up and the first thing you do is check with the world to see if you're okay? Did I do enough yesterday? Do they still like me? It's like your sense of worth is crowdsourced from people who are way too busy dealing with their own problems to accurately value yours. This constant need for external validation is a dangerous game. It's addictive because, let's be honest, it works but only for a little while. Someone praises you, and you get this amazing high, this rush of feeling good. But then, an hour later, it fades. And just like that, you need another hit. You become a validation junkie, always chasing the next compliment, the next like, the next sign that you actually matter. The core problem here is that external validation is completely unstable. It's like building a house on shifting sand. People's opinions change on a whim. The very thing they praised you for yesterday, they might criticize today. You can't build a solid identity on such a shaky foundation. But we try anyway, don't we? We keep trying because the alternative internal validation means we have to sit with ourselves, be brutally honest, and face our own truths. But here's the thing, universal approval is a myth. It's impossible. Every action you take will please someone and disappoint someone else. So by trying to please everyone, you're guaranteeing failure, which means your validation-sourced worth will always be compromised and you always feel like you're coming up short. You're just looking at a hall of mirrors, each one showing a slightly different, distorted version of you. That's not a solid identity. It's just a collection of reflections. And here's the most frustrating part of this cycle. Even when you do get genuine validation, you often dismiss it. Someone gives you a heartfelt compliment, and you immediately think they're just being nice, or they don't really mean it. Why? Because your internal sense of worth is so low that no amount of external validation can penetrate it. It just bounces right off. So you're re-stuck in this twisted loop, desperately seeking validation that you won't even accept when you get it. It's a classic case of self-sabotage. You're setting yourself up to fail before you even start. How? By living in alignment with your own values, not someone else's. By keeping the promises you make to yourself. By doing things that you respect, regardless of whether you get recognition or applause for them. Your worth is not up for a popular vote. It is not decided by a committee. It's yours. It's yours to establish, yours to nurture, and yours to maintain. So, start doing that difficult, necessary work. Stop begging strangers to tell you that you matter. You already do. You just need to be the one to believe it. Are you waiting for your life to begin? You know, that feeling of living in permanent preparation mode. You tell yourself, when I lose the weight, then I'll start dating. When I finally get that promotion, then I'll be happy. When I meet the right person, then I'll feel complete. When all the conditions are just perfect, then I'll finally start living. But here's the thing about those conditions. They have a funny habit of moving. The goalposts keep shifting. You're constantly preparing for this amazing future that never seems to arrive. And while you're busy preparing, the present moment is slipping through your fingers, completely unused. Life isn't something that starts later. It's happening right now, this very second, with all of its glorious imperfection. This is your life. You're caught in this self-made paradox. It's a classic catch-22 of your own creation. The confidence you desperately waiting for is on the other side of the action you refusing to take. Maybe you're waiting for life to get easier. Well, it won't. The challenges might change. They might look different, but it's never going to be easy. Waiting for easy is like waiting for a train at a bus stop. It's waiting forever. So, start now, while it's hard. Do it scared. Do it unprepared. Do it imperfectly, because doing it is the only way it ever gets done. Stop waiting. Just stop. Start now. Imperfect, messy action is infinitely better than perfect. Sterile planning, a messy lived-in life, is so much more fulfilling than a clean, empty waiting room. You don't get another shot at today. This moment, right here, this is it. You can either use it or you can lose it. And for too long you've been losing it, waiting for some imaginary, better moment that's never going to come.